What we do here is go back.
Mic check. Mic, is this shit on?
It's on.
It's the InnerViews podcast, episode number 4. The weather is great. Traffic in Toronto still sucks. Lonzo Ball apparently has a new mixtape that actually sounds pretty darn good. And we're here live. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I feel like I've been acting all day. I realized that in this area, I'm not going to give away where we are right now, but there's no healthy options around here, and I'm starving. Like, my stomach is like doing the Stomp the Yard beats. Stomp the Yard. Is that the movie? Stomp the Yard? Yeah, we're doing like all those beats right now. It's just moving. But we're here. The dedication is here. And we got a lot to talk about today. And I'm really upset that there's no healthy food options around here. I mean, everywhere I go, McDonald's, Popeye, some fried chicken, some shawarma. And I'm just trying to eat good. I'm trying to feel good, and it's really hard in this city. I don't know why I can't find any good food. Not even a freshie, man. Not even a goddamn freshie. But this is episode number 4. We've got it down packed now. No more telling you the episode at the end of the show if you got to the end of the show. This is episode number 4. I'm here with the legend, the stat king, the man of all men, the guy of all guys, my boy Fabio. What's going on? How are you feeling? What's good?
We could probably be a little better, or I could be a little better, barring that result yesterday, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But the day's been good, you know? A nice early day off school. You got to just relax a little bit.
You look good. You're
whoa.
Smiling.
Okay, not bad. I'll take that.
No eye bags. Doesn't look like you've been crying or tearing up. So
no, it's all right.
Figured that you got through it well. I was thinking about you while I was watching that game, and I was like, I'm expecting a rant right now.
You know, it's interesting when you watch something more so as to analyze and not just as a fan.
Yeah.
You don't feel as bad when your team gets blown out because you're like, okay, you can see why this happened, as opposed to watching like a fan like my dad who just yells at the TV and stuff, right?
There's more emotion invested into it.
Yeah.
Like, damn, Fabio's probably livid right now, but I know you would.
I don't think I'll ever be able to turn the fan off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how these professionals do it and like
turn the switch off.
Yeah, and just have no ties to a club maybe they grew up listening to or watching or whatever.
Don't worry, give it a month or two and you'll be right into that into that mold, you know? It just comes naturally over time when you watch so many games.
You start to not care as much?
Exactly.
Desensitize yourself?
Yeah. It needs to happen more on social media. I wasn't really on social media for these games. It's been one of my Champions League traditions and also like big Super Sundays. Stay off Twitter. Keep it on my profile. I like my profile. Watch my timeline go down. Watch my mentions increase in case I say something really outlandish. Everyone kind of laid off today and did not bother getting into that because I said a few outlandish things. It's the Champions League. I mean, it's back. We should be happy. The best tournament in the sport is back. We had some really good games, and I think the general consensus from what I've heard so far prior to this recording is that English football's back. The Premier League is back. The best league in the world is back on top, and nothing is better than that because we had 4 games this week. 3 of them featured English sides. 3 of those English sides were on the road. 2 of them got results, maximum points, and looked to be heading into the quarterfinals. And 1 got a very good result when they weren't expected to win given their poor start. So we got 4 games to break down on this podcast. And I'm, like always, I'm going to leave it to you. Which are we going to go with first? Pick your poison. Are we going to go with your favorite team?
No.
Or are we going to go with the big boys?
I think we got to start with the big boys because in both performances, in both matches, it was something special. We seen your prototypical, what people like to call the quote-unquote classic games. Yeah. We had 2 very open games, and either way, whether you're a fan or a supporter of one or the other, it was good games to watch. Definitely was no snooze fest, Europa League, FA Cup. I'm sorry to take shots again, but they were enjoyable matches.
We have FA Cup this weekend, so I'm expecting you to be watching every single game.
Of course.
And the Europa, you know what? I heard someone say that today while I was walking, and they were talking. I do this weird thing where when people talk about soccer, I kind of like take a step back because I love to hear what people actually think before
Opinions?
they know like what it is that we do or
Yeah.
I do, and I always find it interesting. I never ended up telling them what I do. They always see me on like my MacBook, and it's someone that I see often.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the supporters was actually from Manchester, and he's a Manchester City fan. And they were talking about the game this week, and they're like, "Yeah, the Champions League. We got to get home to watch it." Meanwhile, they don't know that I'm like midway sprinting to get to my
Yeah.
car to ensure that I'm at home for kickoff to analyze. And then they said, "Oh, well, Thursday should be fine. It's the Europa League. No one cares about it. It's bad soccer. Da, 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 da." We're going to talk about the Europa League on this podcast at some point, just not now. He's probably right at the moment.
It takes maybe another round or two.
There's just too many rounds. Too many teams.
To really
like,
get into the quality sides, because this year more than any, there's a lot of top sides involved in the Europa League.
off the top of my head,
Arsenal.
Arsenal, Napoli for now,
Leipzig.
Atletico Madrid,
Borussia Dortmund.
Lyon.
Shout out to Michy Batshuayi,
Yeah.
Tyrell's favorite player right now.
Hey, I on the record could say that I've never said anything bad about Michy Batshuayi.
Yeah, you just said that you weren't going to watch Dortmund anymore.
Yeah, but now he's forcing me to watch them. But the thing about it is that like I watch and I see the goals that he's scoring, and it's not a surprise. I've never questioned his finishing ability, but I just don't think he does anything else outside of that very well. And the goals he's scoring at Dortmund, he wouldn't get those chances against Chelsea because Dortmund are not Chelsea, which
It's a different system.
really good because Chelsea aren't great. But off topic, apologies. Champions League. Which game did you enjoy more? And that's the game we're going to go with first. Was it Spurs against Juve? Was it PSG against Real Madrid?
I almost want to just start with Real Madrid just so I can kind of say I told you so.
Okay. I would like to see where you're going with this to tell me what you told me from previous podcasts or conversations in the past.
I just thought that come the time, PSG would be faced against a different level of play as they're used to throughout the season in their own league, right? And I won't say we seen a dominant performance from either side, because I think like we were talking about before we even kicked off, barring the final 10 minutes and maybe a couple really good substitutions by Zidane, the game was very much open for either side to take. So it's not like PSG didn't show up or Real Madrid dominated or vice versa. It was very open for both sides. And Zidane, he often doesn't get much credit because I think we all assume that he just lets the players do what they're supposed to do and puts whoever out there and they get the job done. But this time around, he definitely gets a good nod on my end for a couple of good changes.
I think I'm on that bandwagon where I don't think Zidane's a great tactician, and I thought he got it wrong here from the start, and he did fix it. But this was like the prototypical Real Madrid game throughout this whole Zidane run, and one of the reasons why I don't think we could say that Real Madrid is going to go down as one of the European greats or one of the memorable teams of the past or the European dynasty that many are trying to tip them as. And the reason why I say that is because this followed everything that they stand for. They don't really prepare for games well, but their experience and their ability to, in the past, they were able to control games through Modric and Kroos, and they did that well. They had the two best midfielders in the world, and they were controlling games when they weren't playing well, and they had a way to weather the storm and control games. Here, it was neither or. It kind of fell into the belief that Real Madrid are able to grind out results when it matters, especially in the knockout stages, and where PSG tend to always fall short. And they did that here. And there were obviously a lot of discussion prior to pre-match because Thiago Silva was dropped for Kimpembe. Lo Celso started. at center midfield because Thiago Motta's not fit and Las wasn't fit to play in the game. And then Yuri played at left back. Berchiche, he was at left back.
We'll just call him Yuri.
We'll call him Yuri. I called him Yuri in the video earlier on today, so we'll stick with Yuri. But the game in itself, the reason why I was very intrigued by what Real did was because Isco started. They played more of a diamond, and they gave Neymar the freedom to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. And for a team that are European champions 2 times in a row, a team that are struggling in the league, a team that need to probably win this competition to silence those naysayers like me, they didn't prepare for this well. And you could say they're very fortunate that things went their way, and now they are probably favorites to progress to the next round, although they conceded an away goal. But you look at it from the first half, and Neymar and Yuri were bombing down the field, down the left flank, had few chances where one Neymar slipped, one he slid into, I think, Cavani, and it was blocked. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it was blocked by Ramos with like his toe or something like that.
Yes, and there was one where Yuri overlapped and his cross was overhit. It should have went to Cavani. And there was a time where Verratti played a ball behind Nacho. They had Nacho as their right back and offered no protection for him.
They were abusing him all throughout the first half.
And Modric couldn't do anything about it. Casemiro had a terrible game. I thought he was poor throughout. Not his best game. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch, but he wasn't the greatest. Far from it. He struggled in that aspect. And it was just a bit odd that the goal came from the other side. Mbappe getting lucky against Marcelo, because I thought Marcelo did a very good job, and I thought he was probably the best Real player on the field.
I was going to just say that.
He stopped Mbappe from doing anything down the right. The way they were shifted was that Nacho sat deep, and Marcelo was more of like a left wing back. And he got by him, delivered the cross. It fell to Rabiot. Modric fell asleep, and Rabiot
didn't pick up his man.
Put them ahead. And then throughout the game, you just saw PSG. There were spells where their lack of experience showed when Lo Celso got booked for giving the ball away, and then I think he knocked down Isco out of the way. And then there was a time where Ronaldo had a chance in the first half, and I think it was Yuri who tried to play a pass to Lo Celso, and it was very light, and it went to Ronaldo.
He skyrocketed
over the net. And then the penalty, like we're so close to the first half ending, and you give up a penalty like that.
Yeah, stupid tackle.
Yeah, by far. And they fell asleep. And it was like seconds after Marcelo and Isco combined, and Benzema, who really offered nothing, just like Ronaldo did to an extent, offered nothing from open play. Benzema forced a save from Areola.
Yeah.
And when Madrid go equalize, you think they're going to change things in the second half, probably bring on a wide player. Didn't happen. And the same thing happened in the second half. Real's press kind of dipped, so they were forced to sit back. Neymar was still finding space. They were countering. Everything was going PSG's way except Neymar, who was scrutinized for his performance, and I didn't think he played that bad. He didn't play to the level that we expect the third best player in the world to play, arguably the third best player in the world to play at. He didn't play to that level, but he was part of everything great that PSG did, and sure, it was the system, obviously, that helped, but his lack of quality in the final third, playing that final pass, it didn't happen. And Emery got lambasted for bringing on Meunier for Cavani. I know you didn't like that.
No.
I understood why he did that. And I don't know if it was fear that Marcelo was getting forward and he wanted the double coverage on the right-hand side where he had Alves ahead of Meunier. It made sense. Alves is more attack-minded anyways, but you're right. They lacked a presence in the box, and I kind of freed up Mbappe to get away from Marcelo, and then I thought that they felt that maybe they could use Mbappe's pace when Real were trying to push for another goal. It didn't work out for them, and it turned out that a change to a 4-4-2 really impacted the game, where now they had attackers that could bomb down the flanks and attack the, let's say, weaker fullbacks, and they got their goal. They attacked Meunier. Asensio got the better of him. It all stems from Kimpembe's poor clearance, who he didn't have a bad game up until then. And Bale was also involved in that aspect as well when he replaced Benzema. And Ronaldo got the fortuitous goal. And then you look at the third goal. it was just great play from Isco, Marcelo, and Asensio, but a bit fortunate as well that Marcelo was to score that, because I'm pretty sure there was a deflection.
Yeah, it caught Ariel off guard
as it went in, right? So when you really analyze the game, PSG were the better side. And I think what's getting lost in this is that, yes, they did fall short again. Yes, there was a lack of experience, and they did play a few young players, which should probably be a positive thing for PSG fans. But they went to the Bernabeu, a place where a lot of teams don't go to and dominate or play. I wouldn't say dominate. That could be a bit over the top. But they played better.
well enough to win the game.
Better than Real and well enough to win the game. And it just came down to fine margins. And it's been that way for Real over this 2-year spell in the Champions League, where sometimes a few lucky bounces go their way, and you need that in these cup competitions. And that's what happened here. And PSG could kick themselves. But I can't blame Emery for, at 1-1, trying to conserve the result, because a 1-1 at the Bernabeu is a great result.
Huge
to go
result.
back to Paris with.
Yeah, it's a massive result. I've never been a fan of dropping your lines and inviting the pressure, especially from a team like Real Madrid, whose only options off the bench are attacking options.
Yeah.
So if you continue to force Kroos and Modric and Casemiro to run around the midfield and tire them out, there's nobody else on that bench who's going to step in, maybe other than Kovacic,
Yeah.
who's shown that defensively he's not as good as some people think.
Yeah.
So they don't have those options to defend that. So I think by taking out Cavani, you're allowing Real Madrid off the hook, because we know Real Madrid has issues defending. They concede goals to lower sides all the time. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They're not a team who you go out there and you're like, okay, they're able to hold on to results well, or you're looking for them to get a clean sheet constantly, because they're not that team. So by taking off your attacking option, I would have been happier if he had taken off Cavani, slid Mbappe into the middle, and played with Di Maria wide. Yeah. And maybe put Neymar on the opposite side, and have Di Maria with fresh legs running at Nacho.
Yeah.
Because Nacho was maybe arguably Real Madrid's worst player on the day.
Yeah.
Other than the couple times where he made it up the field and added something in the offensive zone, he did not know what to do with the Yuri and Neymar combination.
Yeah, and you're right. They could have brought on Di Maria or Draxler as well. So that's very key. The only reason why I understand your point, and I get what you're saying about the Cavani thing. I just think that he got away with it because it didn't really shape the game. It's not like when Meunier came on, Real just kind of grew into it as much. I think prior to the change to the 4-4-2, they had the two best. PSG still had the two best chances within a 4-minute span. So that's the only reason why I'm not giving him the slack that I guess everyone else is giving him. I don't think that taking off Cavani really impacted the game, but at the same time, within a 3-minute span, the tie kind of creeped away from them, and it would be really harsh unless they get blown out at home that they get criticized for this. But it's Emery's job on the line, and he's got to come out with something. And the thing about PSG is that, and I've watched them a bit this season, that they're much better at home. And I think that's the case for any side. And they're still very good on the road, but they're much better at home, and I expect a better performance. And I don't think they necessarily have to go out and chase the game. But at the same time, Real, due to the experience, due to Zidane's upbringing, being the second man to a Carlo Ancelotti, to Jose Mourinho, learning his trade and playing in Italy, I wouldn't be surprised if Real sit a bit deeper and look to play on the counterattack, which is what they're probably going to do, because that second leg, PSG are going to have to go for it at some point. And it just makes a very intriguing second leg. And I thought that if it were 2-1, it'd be even better. But at 3, it just builds a bit of a gap. But the away goal keeps them alive.
It's not unheard of for them to win 2-0 at home against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I think then the next game is going to be just as good as this one.
Yeah.
Because an early goal changes everything.
Yeah. And I think that this is really big for Neymar, because I felt like this would have been an opportunity to pass the torch from Ronaldo to Neymar. And this would be, I was number 2 or I was number 1, and now it's your chance now to succeed myself and Messi. This is your limelight. This is your stage. And we didn't really, although Neymar...
He probably was the better player.
I think Neymar was the better player.
For sure.
It was Ronaldo who kind of stole the headlines once again.
It was Ronaldo's team who bailed them out again.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to go that's what it's going to go down as. So the second leg should be very intriguing, but the game in itself, I thought PSG were good enough to shave it and they probably should have won. But again, in this Champions League, it's not as easy as many people think. It's the toughest competition in the world. And just because you play well doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to win. And Real, again, for the umpteenth time, are able to come out victors when they probably were second best.
They just get it done. It's like what I was saying before, that in Champions League, they're just a different animal. It's like this switch that they turn on that allows them to just become something different that we don't always see in the domestic league.
Yeah. But we'll see. That second leg should be intriguing. And it's weird because just like they've developed that mantra, that kind of upbringing and that title to be that team in the Champions League, Juventus developed this title of being a defensively minded team, a team that could grind out results. We've seen it this season. That didn't really happen in the first leg against Spurs. And I think this is the first of the trilogy of England coming back to being the best league in the world. And we start with Spurs, who came from behind after going down 10 minutes in and drawing 2-2. Very impressive performance led by Moussa Dembele and Christian Eriksen. But Juve up 2-0. You think that they're going to be able to ease it out. And I'll be the first to say that when I saw the starting lineup for Juve, I was a bit at shock.
I was just going to say that. I was very surprised by that.
Solely because they played 4-3-3 for like the last... I can't remember when they didn't play 4-3-3, but it's been their base system for most of the season, and it's worked. It's worked like a charm, and I know that Matuidi was unable to play. I know Cuadrado was unavailable. Dybala hasn't really been a key player in that 4-3-3 anyway, but he was missing. But I thought, why not? Is Marquisio not ready to play in this big of a game at this stage? I don't know what his fitness is like now. I know he's had some injury issues over the past few seasons. And what about Stefano Sturaro, who has played a key role in Juventus' deep run to the Champions League over the past few seasons, or in a few seasons? Why wasn't he slotted in? Why did they not switch to a 4-3-3? Because the starting lineup that they selected was very attack-minded. So they went up 2-0. You would expect them to kick on, but they did what Juve tend to do, and it was just a change because that kind of allowed Spurs into the game. But what did you think before I get into this whole England is Premier League is back talk?
I'd have to agree with you 100%. I was really surprised by Allegri's move to play the extra attacker, and he proved us wrong in the opening 10 minutes. But then when the game finally settled in and his team had to defend and drop their lines, they were missing the extra midfielder. And Dele Alli and their whole front four, really. There was too much space for them to interchange with one another. I thought Lamela did a hell of a job throughout the game. That was another surprise, for me at least. I didn't think he would already get the nod ahead of Son, but he offers something going the other way as well that I think Son doesn't offer.
I don't know if it's true, but I think it was something to do with the fact that like he's played in Italy before, and
yeah, I read something along those lines.
And he's a good presser as well, but
yeah,
that was a bit surprising that he was given the keys to start, given how great that front four has been throughout this big game run, right? But
yeah, and he takes up different positions that I think Son doesn't. Where Son, we see him more so hugged to the line, where Lamela, he was all over the place, taking up in different positions. But for the most part, I thought Tottenham have done what they've done in the last month or so, where they settle into games very well, and they just look extremely comfortable on the ball, and they move it from their back four to the front of the field effortlessly almost. And Dembele, in the last month, he's been on an incredible form.
hit that purple patch.
Yeah.
So is this a Spurs evolution? What do we make of Spurs? Like, what do you think about them after this result and after this month that they've played in? And what do you think about them in terms of like Europe and what they've done this season?
I think they've shown that they can hang with the big boys, and that goes credit to Pochettino. He's been grooming this team to finally step up at some point, and we're starting to see it. And that'll probably transition into better results in the domestic league at some point, probably starting next year. But then that comes to, can they keep this team together as well?
And that's the biggest question, right? Apparently, it's like reported that Pochettino is going to get a new deal, or they're trying to give him a new deal. They're trying to keep him. The result is massive for Spurs in the sense that they were able to go to a side like Juventus, regardless of who was playing, just the history, the stature of the club, to go there and to get a result, score 2 away goals. That's a big moment because it now gives belief in the players and the manager and the fans that this isn't the end and that they could build on this and get better. And we're really watching something special before our eyes in the sense that this has all sort of been built by Pochettino. They haven't really they've spent money. Every team spends money, but they haven't really blown the bank. They haven't gone for the most illustrious players. They haven't been in the market trying to do what, let's say, a City or a United or a Chelsea or an Arsenal have been doing. They've kind of done it their way, and it's kind of the way that all soccer, football supporters want their clubs to do it, the right way, apparently. And I'm not saying it's the wrong way, or I'm not saying it's the right way, but they're doing it in a nice manner.
Yeah.
And they're building something. They're building a culture there, and I'm all for it. And it's a big result. And like you said, Dembele he played well. If he wasn't the best player, it was Eriksen.
Yeah, one of the two.
You could flip back and forth. Juve kind of put themselves in a hole where Pjanic was pressed. He couldn't really dictate the game. Khedira hasn't been really playing well, and he hasn't, especially in a two-man midfield, it hasn't really worked out for him. I still don't know what Bernardeschi offers to the side in terms of open play and what he does. Douglas Costa didn't really do much. Probably should have played out wide.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't attack players enough.
Yeah.
The one time I think it was maybe 2 times we've seen him attack players. One got the penalty that Higuain put over the net. And then the second time, I believe it led to a Spurs yellow card or something along those lines. So he didn't do what he should have done enough.
Yeah.
Like we didn't see him attacking players enough at all.
Yeah, so you're absolutely correct, and I don't know, that was on Allegri, and I think he took full responsibility for it and admitted that Spurs were the better side. And then the Mandzukic thing, I understand he's trying to fit Mandzukic in, and I would have had Mandzukic on regardless. It would have been 4-3-3 with Mandzukic and Costa out wide. I would have sacrificed Bernardeschi because I didn't think he played well at Fiorentina, and I still don't think I don't know what he offers to the side.
I don't think he's a Juventus starter caliber, at least at this point.
Yeah, or in the system, right?
Yeah.
So I would have sacrificed him and brought another midfielder, and I thought they should have done that if they were planning to sit back. But they sat back. There was no pressure on the ball. Dembele was picking it up deep and able to stroll. He's not the greatest passer. He doesn't play penetrative passes. He plays it wide. But he started to get the space where he could play those passes because it was awarded to him. And then Eriksen figured that, okay, I'm not getting the ball in these tight spaces because no one can really find me, so I'm going to drop deeper and dictate the game there as well. They had runs from Ali that were very intelligent and from Kane trying to drag out Benatia or run across Benatia. And they created their chances. And when you look at the first goal that they scored, it was just it was the movement, but it was Chiellini being shrugged off the ball and then by Eriksen, and then Ali played in Kane, right? And the second goal, it was Lamela and Ali and Eriksen getting into those tight spaces and really flustering them. That led to the free kick that Eriksen put away, and that was Buffon's fault. And some could say it was Buffon's fault for the first goal as well.
I was going to say, I had this conversation today with somebody, a Juventus fan actually, and he was not happy about Buffon on either of the goals.
Yeah,
I agree, honestly. I think he was far too aggressive on the first one.
Yeah.
I feel like he caught himself in no man's land, and then he's like, I'm out at this far. I gotta.
Yeah.
I have. There's no going back, right?
And I don't know if he did that because he thought Chiellini was out and then Benatia was out of position, because the line was all flustered after Chiellini was shrugged off the ball,
Yeah.
right? With Buffon, it's one of those things where he probably will go down as the best goalkeeper ever, but that doesn't excuse. And he's not the best goalkeeper in the world right now. He's not.
I don't think he's better than De Gea.
I'll go as far as to say I don't know if he's a top 5 goalkeeper in the world right now.
Oh, somebody's coming for you after that one for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he is. And I'm being dead honest with you. I don't think he's a top 5 goalkeeper in the world right now. He'll probably go down as the best goalkeeper of all time, but we tend to do this thing where when players hit this certain level of
Legend status?
yeah, we kind of try to like brush off their mistakes. And it's weird that Juve were so quick to just throw him in there, and I feel like they feel obligated not to play him on the bench, because I thought Szczesny was doing well in his replacement, in his absence, and I thought Szczesny deserves, and I think he does deserve to play. He's done great for Juventus this season. And yeah, Buffon's at fault. Allegri's at fault. They sat deep. Then Pochettino switched things up, and he brought Eriksen closer to Kane. Dyer sat off a bit deeper. The fullbacks got forward. I thought Aurier had another bad game, but he's missing the second leg because he took out Alexandro. So
Yeah.
that's for good riddance to him. And I just thought they were pushing Juventus back, not much space to really counter, and Higuain was left on an island. But what gets left in all of this is that Juve could have went up
3-1.
They could have went up 3-0 prior to that Kane goal.
Oh, the counterattack
The
with
Pjanic
Higuain.
counterattack with
Yeah.
Higuain, that was one of the few chances that they had to counter.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to blame Higuain for missing that shot. It was very close.
It was on his left foot as well.
Yeah, he probably should have scored. And then the penalty. Now, here's my question to you. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't go on my Twitter timeline for this, but I jokingly tweeted that Higuain is better than Harry Kane. I don't know if you saw the tweet,
Yeah.
but I tweeted that. And I don't know if I have a soft spot for Gonzalo Higuain or if I'm being rational or not, but I feel like Higuain doesn't get the credit he deserves based on a few missed opportunities in the past. And I think if you YouTube it, Higuain misses, I think there's like probably a compilation for Higuain's biggest misses. There's actually, when you click the first one, Higuain crucial misses for Argentina. There we go. Higuain misses massive chances in 3 finals in a row. So Gonzalo Higuain's status as an elite center forward, I would say is a top 5 center forward in the world, is masked because of these misses. Okay? So I wanted to ask you if you feel that, and I think this is ridiculous that people are blaming Higuain for Juve losing this game, but did Higuain bottle it?
I think whenever a player misses a penalty, we're quick to jump down their throat and blame them right away. Do I think it's his fault they lost? No. Do I think at that point of the game, if you go up 3-0, are Spurs dead and buried? Maybe not dead and buried, but does the tie look very different? Yes, that 100% I would have to agree. But we often think it's easy to get up there and smash home a penalty, where it's really not. We see it time and time again where the best players in the world miss their penalties. So he's just been very unfortunate when it's mattered. Does that come down to maybe something mentally? I'm sure that plays into his mind one way or another. You don't have these things happen to you and not think about them. Maybe as an athlete, he's able to switch it off, but he's been good for them throughout his career.
Yeah.
Throughout his time at Juventus, Real Madrid, he was okay. Probably wasn't the player a lot of people expected him to be. Are his misses going to dictate his career at the end of the day? Unfortunately, they might. In the grand scheme of things, people will often talk about your mistakes as opposed to your achievements. Could it have changed the game? 100%. Do I blame him for Juventus's downfall? No. It wasn't his fault that the team fell back into their own half and just didn't press the rest of the game. he's not at fault for that. I thought he was one of the bright sides to Juventus's game, really.
I thought the first finish was absolutely superb in the fact that it was right off the training ground, and for him to fully turn his body and hit that on the first was just brilliant.
And a heads-up play by Pjanic, too,
Yes.
for the quick free kick.
Higuain is 30 right now. When he was at Real Madrid, I don't know if many people know this, he scored 27 goals in 2009, 2010 in La Liga. Scored 22 of 18 appearances, 18 starts, we would roughly say, in 2011, 2012. I thought he really hit form, his best, after the World Cup. So after those misses, or that one miss in the World Cup.
Against Germany?
Yeah, which I don't even think he had the worst miss of the game. I thought Messi bottled the biggest chance when he broke in at like the 47th minute and fired a shot wide of Neuer when he probably should have beat him. And no one talks about that. But I thought Messi missed the biggest chance in that game, and Higuain is somehow getting the stick for it. Who knows why?
Well, he's just a scapegoat now at this
Yeah.
point.
But you look at Higuain, when he was on Napoli 2015, 2016, I thought he was arguably top 3 or one of the best strikers in the world. 36 goals. Goes to Juve last season, 24 in the league. Guides them. He was one of the key components to why they made it to the Champions League final, and they lost to a better team on that day. He's at 14 now. They're having, in terms of production, they're not really scoring or creating the amount of chances that they normally have in the past. So I don't know if that's to blame on it, but look, this guy is a top 5. He's a top 5 striker in the world. His all-around game's amazing. He could be a more ruthless finisher in the box, but I'm not going to lambast him for missing chances. A lot of strikers miss chances. And do I think he's better than Harry Kane? I think I'll leave that for a future podcast. Harry Kane was okay. I'll lead into that instead.
Yeah, he's been decent, but
he scored, I guess.
But then this is where you see, I don't know. Harry Kane has been incredible in the last couple seasons, but I guess you need to see more of a long-term sample size to compare to Higuain.
Yeah.
But this is almost where you see the difference in players where Kane might not be playing well and gets an opportunity and finds a way to finish it.
Yeah.
Where when Higuain's not always playing well,
Yeah.
he might miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think that's where people will refer to Kane as a better striker in terms of that.
Oh, really? You took the nice route.
Yeah.
Because I just think it's a bunch of English hype, and I think that...
That's a problem. English media does that to everybody.
I think at the end of the day, it's down to English hype, and if Harry Kane wasn't English, then perhaps we wouldn't be having that discussion as to where he stands. And if Harry Kane played in Serie A, he wouldn't be getting the praise and credit that he deserves now. But I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that Harry Kane move. And this is not a knock on Harry Kane. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a very, very good striker. I don't think he's a world-class striker, but I think he's right up there. But I want to see, and this is not one of those things where, playing in a different league, but I just want to see what happens when he does leave, because we feel like he's going to leave.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. I don't think Tottenham can hold on to him forever.
And I know other players have stayed at certain teams, but the system has changed. So they play in different roles. And I won't name these players, but I'm pretty sure you know who I have in mind. But here, when Harry Kane makes this big money move to wherever he wants to go, I want to see if that form is replicated elsewhere. I want to know if it's just not Pochettino. And
so you feel like Pochettino plays to his strengths?
I feel like they could be playing, and it's not a knock on him, but
of course not.
But I would like to see how that really works out, and that's not to discredit him at all. But I feel like that will be the big test for Harry Kane, because we've seen Spurs win games without Harry Kane. Harry Kane was out for 2 months last season, and they were perfectly fine without him. And I think that if he were to get hurt tomorrow, they'd be perfectly fine without him. Do they need him?
Of course.
Of course. It doesn't hurt to have a striker that could score you 30 goals. It never hurts. But I just found that interesting that I'm shocked that in 2018, Higuain is still a scapegoat for any slander given the last 4 years and the level of play that he's had at Napoli and at Juventus. And I think it's a bit harsh. But in terms of that overall game, yeah, Higuain did miss the penalty, and it would have been 3-1, and perhaps I don't think things would have changed, to be honest. So,
Don't think so?
if we're gonna be honest with you, I don't think if Higuain scores that penalty that Juve start to play forward again and go forward.
I don't think the style of play changes. I just think it gets a lot harder for Spurs to get
And perhaps
back into the game. That's my thing.
And perhaps maybe they kind of sizzle down a bit.
Just
and,
mentally as well.
Yeah. I don't. The reason why I don't say that is because of what they've been through this month already.
Fair enough.
And in terms of they'll be down, but they have the belief that they could play themselves out of situations. And I think they play better in the second half than the first half, as we've seen throughout this big run, right? So I think it was a very interesting tie. I know a lot of people think Spurs are the favorite to go through, but this is Juventus. They are renowned, and Allegri is a great tactician, and people make mistakes, and I think he made a mistake, but they are renowned for going to opposition's home grounds and grinding out the most grittiest 1-0 victories, the ugliest 1-0 victories you'll see in your life. That's what they do best.
If there's anyone that can do it, do you put it past them? I don't.
And I don't think Wembley's that much of a fortress for that. To me, Wembley's still a neutral ground.
Yeah, agreed.
It's not White Hart Lane. It's not like they're going in there and the atmosphere and the crowd is like...
We've seen them struggle there at the beginning of the year.
Within touching distance of the field. Like, you don't feel that aura. And yeah, they've been winning, but like I said, I feel like they could go there and get a result and just change things. If they could have Cuadrado back, if they could have a Matuidi back in midfield, some engine, something to just really get them going, I think they could turn this around, and I think they could score. And I don't think Spurs are going to be that side that are going to sit back, and they can. We've seen them do it this season, but I don't think they're going to sit back. I don't think they're capable of holding a clean sheet in a game of this magnitude. And I give them credit, like you said, the evolution. But there's some asterisks to all of those. Yeah, I'm in one of those moods today. There's some asterisks
There's some
to what
Barry
Spurs
Bonds
did.
asterisks.
Dortmund has been utter trash this season. So I understand they got out of the group. I said they were going to get out of the group. You could go back to my tweets. I said Spurs were getting out of that group. Dortmund has been utter trash this season, so I do not really put it to that high pedestal that everyone else is putting it to. And Real Madrid in fall were trash too. They were awful. And kudos to Spurs for getting that job done, but we'll see.
And I definitely don't. Allegri seems like a man who learns from his mistakes. He's not going to make the same mistake twice.
But it won't finish 0-0. Someone is going to score in this game, okay? And they better hope it's not Juve first again, because if it is, then there's going to be a big problem. And it's going to be a good one.
But even if Juventus scores, I think Tottenham has that belief now that they're not out of it.
Yeah. There's just little things that I think Allegri could have fine-tuned, and that's why I don't think they'll be in too much danger. But, hey, if Spurs were to win, then maybe English football is back. Maybe the Premier League is the best league in the world. I feel like I'm going to be saying that throughout this entire podcast because that's what I keep hearing. And, only in the Premier League only a Premier League team could show that heart and love and determination and grit. So kudos to them. Spurs, can't knock them. I thought they were phenomenal in what they did, and they really, really put the world on notice that they're here, but they're two legs.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to learn a lot more about them because when you're the underdog, it's very easy to rise to the occasion when the favorite is not playing well, but now you're the favorite at home and the pressure's on you, and I want to see how they cope with that, and that will be interesting.
If they do get the result, it'll definitely push them to that next level, you think? Where people start to believe in what Pochettino's doing?
Oh, well, I think they should be believing already in what he's doing.
But will this be the tie that for the masses puts them on the European stage?
Oh, for the mainstream audience? Yeah, 100%. You knock out Juventus, that's no easy task, no matter who's on the field and who's coaching the team. You know, that would be a real mark, and that's when we could kind of sit back and be like, okay.
Now we take notice.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see. But I think that really turns us to the game you don't want to talk about.
No, we can just jump over this one if you'd like.
Liverpool.
You're going to let me have it for sure.
Liverpool go to FC Porto, who have played very well this season. And
yeah, you wouldn't have thought from that performance.
And are still leading the Portuguese league.
Yeah.
Liverpool went there and... I don't want to use annihilated, but if you allow me to, I'll use it.
They throttled Porto.
Annihilated Porto.
Yeah.
5-0. And I'm not even going to say anything because I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to let you say what you got to say because I know it's therapeutic and I understand it and I get it. So the floor is yours. I am here and I'm all ears because, this is going to be interesting.
You're the spectator in this situation.
For sure. I'm always a spectator.
I feel like he just got it wrong from the beginning. And what I was saying last week about you need to play with an extra midfielder in your side to go against a team like Liverpool or to go against any top side. You're not playing a Portuguese league team where you can have 4 players attacking the game and be okay with a 2-man midfield. We've almost seen not the death of a 2-man midfield, but it's very rare nowadays where 2 players can boss a 2-man midfield. It doesn't happen throughout Europe very often. And I think from the get-go, he got that wrong. And then more so than that, it was just mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. Every single Liverpool goal came from some sort of error. The first one, obviously, José Sá lets it go under him. Not the best effort. It's rainy, it's wet. It's kind of rough. The second one, he tries throwing out the ball where he should hold on to it. I guess being that young keeper, you kind of you're caught in the go of the game. And then the third, I think it's Brahimi who makes a bad pass. He had an awful game. He's had a bad stretch of, I'd say, almost 3-4 weeks now where he's not been the Brahimi of old.
I was going to ask about him because I remember there was one point maybe a few years ago where he was linked with a lot of the big clubs in world football. And I just want to know where he stood in that entire scheme of things. Is he gonna get that big money move from Porto, or is that kind of?
I think that,
out?
To be quite honest, that time sort of passed him.
Yeah.
He went away for the Africa Cup of Nations, and he came back, and it was just he felt like a different player.
Yeah.
He had a bad back half to that season. I believe that was 2 seasons ago. Last year, he was like most of the team. Last year was not a good year, and we've seen him come alive, I would say, under Conceição, who's allowed him a little bit of freedom down that left side and to cut in. And he's played well with Telles. And that's where, in this game, he didn't have the support of Telles because Telles was too busy marking Salah or Mane, whoever was on his side. So when he's plays alone, I find he often dribbles the ball way too much. He does this thing where he just tries to roll every single defender. And that's not going to work. And I'd give credit to Arnold, who stood his ground throughout the game and didn't let him really get beat once. And it comes down to, for me, I think missing Danilo was huge, was massive. He's the leader, and he's that reference point in the midfield where in a game like this, I believe that it would have made a world of difference.
And that was going to be my other question. If Danilo's there, do they play 4-3-3?
100%. You do not see Otavio playing.
And then he sits in front of the defense, right?
Yeah, but this year he has branched forward more than we've seen. I think Conceição's asked him to be more involved in the attack.
More of an all-rounder.
Yeah, where we've seen him score goals and provide good balls out the back. He's a decent passer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he lights the world on fire. He's not Pogba who's hitting cross-field balls, right? But to work out of the back and to stop plays coming his way, where I think Liverpool absolutely torched Porto.
Yeah,
I think it would have made a world of difference.
And I think from when I've watched him and when I've watched a player like William Carvalho, they kind of play somewhat of the same role.
Yeah,
I've always felt that when you watch 2 of them play, you always felt like you wanted them to adapt in the way that, like, let's say Casemiro has adapted where they can get forward and kind of just offer you something different, offer you that flexibility. And I think that would help the Portuguese national team in the long run because it's always nice to have someone sitting there.
Yeah.
But if they could do a bit more.
Of course. In modern day football, you don't want just a guy who can do one thing. He's got to be able to fit into different roles.
It helps, right? So
Yeah.
that's a good thing to hear. And I think I agree with you in the sense that I feel like if he was there, then it wouldn't be 5.
No, I think it's much closer.
Yeah. 2-1? But that also changes the entire game
Of course.
to say that who's going to say that Porto don't really get it going, right?
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you. And I was going to ask him, Boubacar, and there was someone else missing.
There was
one more player.
Oh, there was the center back, Philippe.
Yes.
The Mexican had to play.
Yes.
Reyes.
Yes.
Who I think he showed his youth too.
Yeah.
He was not very good.
Yeah.
Then he made some errors as well. He was often caught out of position, taking a step out the front. And one thing that I thought he didn't do very well, he forced Sa into having the ball at his feet way too often. I felt like I seen Reyes pass the ball back to Sa maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. It would go back to him, and then he would just clear the ball, and the cycle would start over again where Liverpool would hold on to possession.
And push forward.
It's 3 players that are key when they're missed.
Yeah.
But then again, Reyes has been playing in the last month.
Yeah.
I think he's been playing more so to set up this game.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just throw him in on a week's notice.
And hope for the best against that attack, right?
Exactly. You don't want to see that, right? So I think that's why he's been worked in lately. Marcanu's coming off the back of an injury.
Yeah.
It's his first game in a little while as well. Liverpool showed their class up front. It comes as much as I don't want to give credit to Liverpool, they were good. They killed them on every opportunity they got, and that's what Liverpool love. Yeah. Liverpool love a team where they can press and make you make mistakes.
I felt like this was the game this is the ideal game for Liverpool to play in. And like I told you before, I think when we were previewing this, or probably weeks ago, I feel like this Liverpool team is not built to win the Premier League. They're not built to win a 38-game season. But in an environment like this, a cup competition, on their day, and it seems like these European nights can be their day most of the time, they could beat anyone in this competition just because they could score goals on you, and there's always a goal threat. And when you look at it like that, with the away goal rule that is so pivotal, and it's going to be tough. How are you going to knock them out? I can see them getting knocked out against an English team, but I don't know. Like, if they were to go elsewhere and play another side, how do you really cope with that, right?
Very few teams are set up to stop that 3-man attack.
Yeah. And I thought they were great. Mane with the hat trick, that really boosts his confidence. And it's always like if one's not playing well, the other one's playing well, and someone really gets it going. But I don't think Porto started the game really bad. I thought they were decent for like the first 10 to, let's say, 15 minutes. But there was always a feeling that, one, the midfield was too open and that they were going to get overrun on the counterattack. 2, Andy Robertson was getting forward way too often in the first half. And I think it was Morega.
Yep.
He just wasn't able to really track that run. And
he's not the type of player who tracks
He doesn't seem to be the player that could be disciplined.
And that's where Danilo makes the difference, because Danilo slides over.
Could shift over and
either side and helps the wingback.
Cover that, right?
Exactly.
And that was a big issue, and he was getting forward, and he is a very good distributor of the ball in those areas, and that was very key. The forward up front, Suarez, I don't really know if it was he was isolated.
I would say so.
But Van Dijk and Lovren really did well against him. He really didn't have the ball unless he was his back to goal. And near
he just had that one
line.
effort that went, which could have changed the game. Essentially, you go right before halftime, he puts it wide.
Yes, when he combined with when Octavio combined with Brahimi, yeah.
Where it could be you go into half 2-1, it's still 2-0, and then, but he was on an island essentially.
And then the goals come, and they're a bit unfortunate to say the least. I always felt like a goal was coming because Liverpool were getting chances on the counter, and I thought they were making poor decisions for the first 20 minutes. There were a few opportunities where they made the wrong decision in the box, and they were winning balls due to their counter pressing. And then Mane scores the first goal, and obviously that should be saved. And the second one, a great shot from Milner off the post, but it's again, they're winning the ball in midfield and then breaking forward. And that was kind of the trend of the game. They were just breaking from the back, and Porto had no real options to stop them on the counterattack, and that's where Danilo is missed. But I think this is such a big result in the fact that I can't remember the last English team or any English team going to Porto and winning like that. Usually when English teams go to Porto, they struggle, a lot of ties. I'm pretty sure Arsenal went there and didn't get a good result. I can remember Manchester United's teams going there, and the one thing that comes to mind is just that Ronaldo Thunderbolt years ago. But, like, that was a tough game for them. I remember Chelsea going there and not getting results and tying and struggling. But a result like that, in that manner, that regardless of the setup, just hit them for 5. Like, that was, no one was expecting that. And it's the thing that happens with Liverpool. If they're on, they're on. And to Klopp, it works. And I saw Jordan Henderson mention that they need to play like that for the rest of the season, which I think is a bit over the top. I don't think they can play like that for the rest of the season. But the way the game was shaped and the resources that Porto had, they were always at a disadvantage, and Liverpool got the better of it. And they exposed them on the counterattack, and I don't think there was really anything they could have done to cope with the pace or the movement of Firmino. The pace of Mane and Salah, the movement of Firmino. And the midfield was pretty tidy. I mean, Henderson wasn't really...
Wijnaldum was pretty good.
Wijnaldum was good. Milner was good.
Henderson just literally stayed right in front of the center backs and dictated the game from there.
Yeah, so...
I think when you have a player that like that, when you don't see him, it means he's doing something right.
Exactly. So I think that's really all I could say about that. Liverpool getting the job done, finishing the tie basically there. I don't think there's going to be much to see at Anfield.
Unless there's a red card in the first minute with a penalty shot or something crazy like that.
2 red cards?
Yeah. Now I'm asking for too much.
But we're deprived of that. And yeah, Liverpool look like they're going to be going on to the quarterfinals, and I don't think anyone really wants to, on this form, anyone wants to be drawn against them over 2 legs. No. I can't think of one team.
Just their ability to go from offense or from defense to offense in the blink of an eye is scary.
And this is what they need, and this is what Anfield needs, and this is what Klopp needs, because this is what Liverpool fans were accustomed to a decade ago. And now it seems like they're coming to that. And that goes back to the Premier League thing, where Premier League teams haven't performed this well in Europe. The fact that they're 5, but just in general, like, they haven't performed this well in Europe in over a decade. The last big run was 2008, 2009, right? When they had the 3 teams in the semifinal, or they had 3 teams in the quarterfinals. Or, no, it was 3 in the semis, 4 in the quarters. Because it was United, Arsenal, and then Barca, Chelsea. But since then, we've had United go to the finals and get smoked by Barcelona. We've had Chelsea win by the... Yeah, we won't get into that, but...
We'll have to get into that one day.
Extremely lucky. But besides that, we haven't really had an English team or English teams dominate in this manner. So
the tide is changing. At least it seems that way.
Well, that's what I've been told over the last 24 to 48 hours, that the Premier League is back.
Would you say this result is more of a Liverpool dominated or a Porto didn't show up? Because that's what that narrative I was reading, that a lot of people weren't trying to give Liverpool a lot of credit for this.
Oh, you score 5 against a team that is by far not a weak team. They're a good side. You got to give Liverpool credit. I'm not going to sit here and not give them credit. But Porto's shape and the lack of resources did play into their hands. But at the same time, you got to execute, and we know how Liverpool mentally, psychologically, they could kind of shut off against teams that are inferior or limited, and they've done that in the league. So for them to go to Porto in a hostile environment and do what they did, you got to give them some credit as well. And if they could build on that, I know every week between them and Arsenal, we're like, oh, well, if they could build on this, then, you know, they could really do something great. Or if they could play like this every week, well, yeah. If you can play like this every week, then they're going to be an issue for any team. But this is like the template for what they want to be in Europe. And if they could replicate this in the next round and continue to do that, then they could be in for a deep run in this competition. So kudos to them. Salute to Klopp.
I think they definitely put a lot of other teams on notice.
Yeah. Just like Spurs did.
Agreed.
Because the Premier League is back.
We should have like a ticker, a counter that says how many times you've said that. I think we're at like 8 at least.
Well, I'm not lying because that's what I've been told, and I'm sticking with it until proven wrong. Maybe next week.
You consume too much English media.
Maybe next week. But that means we got to get to the final team. We didn't even have to preview their game because we did not think it mattered. And you want to know what? Thank you, Pep Guardiola.
You proved us
right. You made my Tuesday afternoon memorable because I did not have to watch past the 45th minute, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Manchester City went to Basel, went to Switzerland, and I'm pretty sure they won 4-0.
Yeah.
Because when I shut it off, it was 3. And
I'll give you credit. I made it to the 25th minute. Right after Aguero scored, I was like, yeah, there's not much else to see here.
It was 3-0 by the 25th minute, right?
Yeah, Aguero scores in the 23rd.
You see, my notes are all over the place. I got 1-0, I got 3-0. I don't even know who scored the second goal.
Silva.
Yes, I do
where
got
he takes
it.
the ball.
I do got it. That was a fantastic finish from Bernardo Silva. They just dominated the game from the first minute on.
Interesting enough, the best chance of the opening 5 minutes falls to Basel.
Yeah.
When Oberland gets in behind.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He has all the time in the world.
He tucked it past Ederson and then Otamendi.
He tries to go over Ederson, and I don't think it comes off as he plans.
Yeah.
Where he could have probably just ran past him.
Oh, we were in for a 1-0 Swiss classic, and you ruined it.
Oberland, what were you doing?
Thank you for missing that chance. What do I take from this? Kevin De Bruyne was exceptional again. I think we should have a ticker for how many times I say that.
Yeah. We need the soundboard. I feel like the soundboard would add so much to this.
We should start like a GoFundMe. Is that what they call?
Hey, people do that nowadays. You can get money for anything.
Go help us. Tip money, extra bit of savings. If you find like $5 on the ground.
If your father has a company and wants to sponsor us, we will totally sell out.
We just need a soundboard. It shouldn't be that expensive, but...
Like an iPad. What does an iPad run nowadays?
Yeah.
A couple $100.
Have a little ad, a little promo for it. We're working on it. Don't worry. We'll get back to you soon.
Big time.
I think the Aguero goal kind of did it for me, and I was pretty upset after watching that goal, and I turned it off after that because, like, at this level, you cannot allow something like that to happen. And like the Bernardo goal, I can understand that, and I think that was a fantastic finish. And I think he's played very well over the past few weeks. I think he's going to do very well in the summer. And I think next season he's really going to kick off when Pep signs another attacking player that could play out wide. Because
lets him go to the middle?
Because I think he's suited to play in the middle, and we don't know if David Silva is going to be able to play to the level that he's playing at this season. And we've seen that they could play without David Silva, and that they could play with Gundogan, who is also very good. And yeah, I think Bernardo would be amazing in the center of the pitch with Kevin De Bruyne. And I think that could be where they're kind of shifting to eventually.
They're grooming him for?
He's doing perfectly fine. I like that he's kind of going under the radar in his first season in the Premier League. We talked about that and how if he was the main guy, perhaps if he didn't play well, he would get scrutinized for it like his former teammate Bakayoko. But he's doing very well. And Fabian Delph was back. I think Vincent Kompany played.
Yeah, he did.
Which the fact that they didn't concede, salute to Manchester City. They gave Laporte and Stone some time to rest.
I think that just plays to their depth.
Yeah.
Guardiola has his team ticking on every cylinder.
Yeah.
They can literally throw anybody into the mix.
Yeah.
They're going to know exactly where to slot in. Granted, not everybody's as good as the next player. Kompany isn't at the level anymore of he used to be.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, put Company in there, put Stones in there, doesn't
Yeah.
matter who.
I
Put
think-
Zinchenko at left back.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at this point.
And I think at the back they're they are well rounded, and the quadruple is alive. I'm the only person that's not a Manchester City fan pushing for the quadruple because we've never seen it, and I know deep down it's not gonna happen. But someone's got to push for it. I'm gonna be that guy. We're pushing for the quadruple.
We like history around here.
Yeah, Carabao Cup final coming at the end of this month. Arsenal, do not ruin it for us. But no, this was what we expected from all jokes aside, this is what we expected from Manchester City. And they're off to the next round as well. 4 away goals, just like Liverpool, because the Premier League is back.
5 for Liverpool.
It's back.
But it's okay. 9 goals between them.
Yeah.
That's if you're anybody other than an English team, you do not want to match up against these type of sides.
And if you really want to be analytical about it, after the 10th minute, the English sides outscored the other sides like 11-0.
So they have a terrible opening 10 and then just settle right in.
Yeah, because if you look at it, I think Porto had the best chance in the opening 10 minutes. City should have been down 1 goal, and Juve were up 2. So there we go. Some fun facts for you. But yeah, City were great. They go on to the next round, and I think it's the same thing. No one really wants to play them. It's going to get interesting because we've seen this with Pep sides in the past, more so Bayern, where they've won the league really early and then the intensity drops and the players get tired. And I want to know what happens if City win the league too early. And I want to know what happens if they win they win the Carabao Cup. Because I think, honestly, the best thing for them is to possibly lose that final, because then it's just more fuel to the fire. Because they won the Premier League. So if they were to lose that Carabao Cup final, it gives them something to really look forward to, something to win the Champions League. But I think if they win that, they win the league, they need something to really get up for. And
I think, but you have to get up for the Champions League. It's the creme de la creme.
that's true, but I don't know. Just because of what we've seen at Bayern, and I know that was a much older side, and they had a lot of injuries. I can't remember. Probably the last Bayern side that he coached weren't as banged up as this side, but I remember the first 2 were extremely banged up. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But they're into the it looks like they're going to be into the quarterfinals with Liverpool. 2 teams you don't want to play. And I think if we're to next round, I'm saying 4 out of the 5 English teams should make it. I'm assuming 4. Okay, no, I'm not saying 4. I'm saying 3 out of the 5 English teams should make it to the quarterfinals. 3 on paper. Okay, well, 2 are practically in. I think 1 on paper should get there, and I think 1 is the favorite to get there. So let's say, hypothetically, we get 4 English teams in the quarterfinals, because I don't think the other one's getting there.
No,
and
we don't even have to mention their name.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting there. But let's say we get 4. We're going to get an English matchup in that quarterfinal. And I think the best, I know for the headlines, it'd be great if we get a Manchester City versus a Manchester United, or if we get a Manchester United against a Chelsea, a Conte versus Mourinho. But if we get a City Liverpool, if we get a City Spurs, but I think City Liverpool just tops it all.
2 teams that you can just go right at each other.
Or you know what, I'll say this. If we get a City Liverpool, or we get a Liverpool Spurs,
you're happy.
Well, I think everyone's happy. I think that's... It just typifies what English football is all about right now in terms of pressing and the speed and the high-paced energy that goes into it. And I think it would be great, especially if we get that City-Liverpool, because that first game was fantastic. And I think if we get 180 minutes of that, it would be even better.
They'll definitely put on a show.
Yeah. So I think that's all we can really say, because the English Premier League is back. And that's all that matters. You know, they got the managers, they've turned the tide around, and they're back. And I don't know if there's anything else you really want to touch base on in this podcast.
From these 4, I think we covered the bases.
Because if it's not English, it doesn't matter.
Of course. No, pretty dominant displays from the English side.